The topic for today is the courage to let children struggle. The minute I say courage, what is it that you get in your thoughts? What does courage look like? And then struggle. What does struggle look like? And the courage to let your child struggle. So when your child is struggling and you're still there looking at the child, not helping the child, what kind of a parent are you then? Right? So if you go look back in our own lives, then do you see life has been beautiful all along, conducive all along, easy all along? Right? We have had difficulties. We had to go by the public transport, stand on the buses to reach your college, maybe miss a bus and then walk home. And maybe you had to go to a friend's home to borrow a book. Parents were not picking us, dropping us. Right? Life was filled with struggles. Again, depends on what I define the struggle to be. If you soak a seed and allow it to sprout, it has to break out of the protective shell. It germinates. Is it struggling? The process may look that it is struggling a lot, but then if I cut it open, would it sprout? Would it grow? So these are the things I think we should think a little deeper. Life is somewhere giving us all these opportunities to hone the skills. It could be my friends ditch me. I feel lonely. I have to manage a conflict in a class. I may fail a class. There are many uncertainties. Do I run away as an adult now, or do I boldly face it? I said it doesn't matter. It's a huge topic where some people walk through their life as though nothing can stop them. And there are some of us who are, even before the situations come into our life, we are afraid that this might come up, so I won't even take up the challenge or even the simple task in life. What's the difference between the two of us? Somewhere somebody took the courage to allow us to develop our own skills. My deep instinct as a parent is to jump in and help because I want the child to learn. Right? I mean, that's law of life, right? If you put a raw rice there, you got to pressure cook it for a minimum 20 minutes. I have to wait. And the rice has to go through the transformation. It has to cook, go through the temperature, the heat, soak in that water. I mean, all those are like the struggles, and then I transform at the end of it. Now, look at all the situations in one single day, maybe one single hour with your children around. Are you answering every difficult question the child has? Are you there to solve their conflicts? Go talk to your neighbor because their son said something to your daughter. Or would you just allow children to resolve their conflicts? Would you remind them to do this homework? The teacher has sent me. I mean, schools do that these days, just to be, I'm a good school, so I send reminders to parents. Tell your child that there's a homework due tomorrow. So I'm like all worried up. Why? Just stop and ask, why am I so bothered? The child may be in kindergarten. Why am I so bothered? And I'm ready to tell child, okay, you have to take this book and that book and you finish this book. If not, I drive 30 minutes to drop off the book that the child has forgotten at home. And every time a child is disappointed, they go to a birthday party, they don't get the big slice of the cake and they come home very sad, and you are trying to compensate that by buying them another similar cake. Why are we trying to prevent every failure, every disappointment that my child may go through? Why can't I see it as steps to grow up, to be resilient, confident human beings? Of course, it comes from love. I love my child so much that I don't want my child to suffer ever. But life is not that way. Life is wanting you to be an independent, capable human being. I mean, that is unfolding of me and my capacities. How many of us have so many potentials within us, unexplored, untapped, and somewhere we are suffocated? I don't feel that I'm fully living because I can do so much more. I'm restricting because of the fears. This is something the child has to see. Have you tried every possible thing before you come to an adult to get some help? Have you tried? I noticed it. I used to participate in elocutions, debate competitions, but I always relied on somebody. I had a very good neighbor. So I used to go to him and he would dictate the speech to me, and I would memorize it in some way and go present it, and I would get a prize. Somewhere thinking on my own had never developed. And then I was visiting my aunt and my cousin. He had a similar speech. Then she told him, go write it on your own, come back and I will correct. So he went. I mean, there was no cry. I mean, my heart was pounding. I mean, he was probably 7, 8 years younger than me. So I was like, oh my God, how can she just be so rude? Why can't she just tell, all of that kind of stuff? Then he went, he wrote something, he came back and he started saying, and my aunt was questioning him, do you think that comes first or that comes later? Do you really want to say this example? Think of another example. And she was like making him think and making him remember, recall, and put it in a sequence. He came back like 3, 4 times. It took like 4 hours long. The entire evening, I can remember, was going back and forth on this. And next day, he went so much more confidently. And he could just speak, even if he forgot something, he would pick something, some other example up. That's the confidence. But it requires time, it requires slowing down. Am I ready to slow down? Right? Just remember, if you force a baby to roll over, to lift their head, to crawl quickly, to walk quickly, what's going to happen to the child? Because my body is not ready yet. How can I even lift my head? Right? That's about physicality. When I look at anything physical, when I can see something, I can understand, yeah, she's not able to run as fast. But then I do not question what is making me not run that fast. I think it was that Milkha Singh, the runner. There was a movie on it. If you all watched it, he had this terror of running because his village was attacked. So he kept running. The minute he looked back, all those memories came and he would just freeze. Right? There's a situation in that movie that showed that he should not look back when he's in a competition. And then he would win. So there are a lot of things that is pulling us down, and those are the things we continue to work, identify, heal. That is that's the courage I need to have. For allowing the child to go through the struggle and for giving that time for the child to heal. So the struggles are in our lives. That's life. Struggles are life. If there were no struggles, I don't think there would be life. Then everything becomes a struggle. Chewing becomes a struggle, swallowing becomes a struggle. And there are parents who also support this. Anything that is hard, the child doesn't want to eat, we mash it up, we do whatever. Of course, when the child is, when it's a baby, we need to do those. But when the child grows up, so question for us is, yes, I definitely need to be there for my child. Do I want to be present for the child or protect my child? Protection is running so that my child doesn't feel anything. And later, when they become 18, 20, 25, 30, we wonder what happened. Why are you still looking up to me? Why should I still do? That concern for other human beings, they lose because they get it easy. They think it's easy for me to just do it for them. It was easy for me to help my child because I was allowed to struggle and build those skills. But now I want to protect my child. So think about it. Think about it. Sit quietly and see when you encourage what happens. Somewhere I don't want to become that shield between what the child is becoming and what the child is capable of to what the environment we are presenting to the child. Out of great love, we do a lot of these evening activities, overschedule my children. I want them to learn music, dance, archery, sailing, so many things. Pass. Let child take one thing up and we shift. I mean, there are a lot of children take one thing up and we are so excited for it and they don't want to do it anymore. We sign up for something else and we are so confused, we are wasting money. So tell the child, you take one thing up, you stick with it for 3 months. Whether you like it or not, you have to stick with it. Maybe when the child is 7, 8, 9 years old, they can understand it. So 3 months is not very long. Stick with it. You never know. They may develop liking. Or they may say, I just can't do it, I won't do it. But then they will know that next time they pick up another something, they have to stick it out for 3 months. 3 months could be a struggle. And that's not a huge amount of courage that I need to exhibit. So think about it. Think about it. What is it that I'm trying to protect here? Am I becoming a block in the child's development? Am I overprotecting? Do I go to rescue my child very quickly? And you can start anticipating, when the child is going out with his class for the first time, anticipate that the child may not like it, the child may be left behind, the child may also enjoy it. And be prepared, but let the child do it on their own for a little bit and then go support the child. Just like my aunt, how she supported her child to go through it, and the child never felt it was a pain though. If my neighbor, my uncle had told me, Shubha, go write your own speech, come back, then I will correct, I would have taken it as rejection because I was used to somebody just giving it to me. And now suddenly, why are they asking? Because I had no skill. I had not developed the skill. I had developed skill of memorizing it, going to somebody, asking for help, but never do it something on my own. And that took a long time to break that habit later on. So instead of hiding, instead of overprotecting, instead of jumping too quickly, stay there, be present. So the child can see that, yes, I have a backup, I have a support, but I also have this confidence that I can try to the best of my ability. And these days it's much more easier than it was for us, both ways. So be there for that. Good luck.